As the smoke of the Buggy Ball's explosion clears, Zoro, wounded, picks up Luffy's cage and drags it all the way to a nearby pet shop. He collapses soon after, barely conscious due to his blood loss. Luffy spots a small puppy in front of the shop. Nami then arrives and tosses Luffy a key to the cage, but the puppy swallows the key and Luffy strangles it to get it back. The mayor then arrives and orders Luffy to leave the dog alone. He brings the wounded Zoro to his house so that Zoro can sleep. The mayor then returns and explains to Luffy about the dog, named Chow Chow, whose master died. Chow Chow and his master were very close, but the mayor knows that Chow Chow must have realized his owner is dead. Soon, Buggy's first mate Moji arrives riding on top of Richie, his giant pet lion. Whilst questioning Luffy about Zoro's whereabouts, Moji attempts to tame Chow Chow, but gets bitten instead. Chow Chow stands up to Richie, attacking the lion, but is quickly batted away. Richie then turns on Luffy's cage and smashes it, sending Luffy flying into a building. Chow Chow continues to fight against Richie and protect his owner's legacy, but takes a severe beating. Meanwhile, Nami and the mayor run up to Luffy and are amazed that he is still alive. Luffy watches Chow Chow fight valiantly against the lion, and soon the pet shop goes up in flames, destroyed. Luffy gets angry, and when Moji and Richie confront him again, he uses Gomu Gomu no Suchi to drive Richie into the ground. Seeing Luffy as a devil fruit user like his own captain, Moji begs forgiveness. Noting that an apology won't get Chow Chow's treasure back, Luffy beats the tamer into the ground, knocking him out with one punch. Nami and the mayor soon realize that Luffy ate a devil fruit, like Buggy, and that he is a rubber man. Moji returns to Buggy, and when Buggy hears of the loss, he orders that the whole town be destroyed. A Buggy Ball is fired and the mayor's house is destroyed, but Zoro is miraculously fine as he wakes up, standing atop the rubble. The mayor decides to go fight Buggy, not heeding the advice of Luffy, Zoro, and Nami. Luffy and Zoro decide to go fight Buggy and his crew as well, and when Luffy asks Nami to join them, she says she will join temporarily as they share a common goal. Meanwhile, Buggy orders that a second Buggy Ball be fired, but the mayor arrives and stops it. Zoro and Nami arrive just as the mayor declares that he will fight Buggy, but Luffy knocks him unconscious. After Luffy calls Buggy a big nose, Buggy orders that Luffy be blown to smithereens with Buggy Balls, and the cannoneer opens fire. Luffy uses Gomu Gomu no Balloon to bounce the bomb back at them, blowing up the building that the Buggy pirates are standing on. Buggy, however, protects himself from the explosion by using two of his men as a shield. Kabaji protects himself with Richie, making Moji angry, and he attacks Kabaji. Kabaji sends him flying with a kick, and Luffy then knocks Moji out of the air. Buggy orders Kabaji to kill Luffy, but as Kabaji charges on his unicycle, drawing his sword, Zoro blocks the attack, claiming that he will be Kabaji's opponent. Kabaji and Zoro quickly begin their duel. Kabaji takes advantage of Zoro's earlier wound and kicks him repeatedly in the side, which makes Zoro fall. Zoro gets up, though, refusing to lose, and the fight continues. Kabaji uses a series of carnival tricks, and he charges right at Zoro, slashing him in the side. Zoro stays standing as Nami decides to leave. Kabaji uses a series of tops as a distraction before riding up the side of a building, leaping off of the top, and descending rapidly with his sword pointed down at Zoro. Buggy then launches his hand to grab Zoro's foot and hold him, but Luffy stomps on Buggy's hand to stop it. Zoro leaps out of the way of Kabaji's attack just in time. Meanwhile, Nami sneaks past a drunken pirate and starts stealing Buggy's treasure, knocking the drunk pirate out when he finds she is there. Zoro gets up to face Kabaji one last time, and they charge at each other. Zoro uses Onigiri to take out Kabaji with one slash. He then collapses, and Luffy says he will take care of the rest. He and Buggy prepare to face off, and Buggy says how Luffy's straw hat reminds him of a man he hates. Luffy realizes this is Shanks, and says he will pound the answers to his questions out of Buggy. Buggy draws his knives and uses Bara Bara Japanese cracker, chop chop rice cracker, but Luffy narrowly avoids it. Luffy retaliates with Gomu Gomu no pistol, but Buggy dodges it, leaving Luffy wide open. Luffy then uses Gomu Gomu no sickle, and Buggy uses Bara Bara emergency escape, chop chop quick escape, to dodge yet again, sending Luffy smashing into a building. Luffy emerges from the rubble, and Buggy uses Bara Bara cannon, chop chop harpoon, knocking back Luffy. Luffy becomes livid when he finds that his hat has been nicked. Buggy realizes the hat is precious to Luffy, so he attacks again, this time managing to stab right through the hat and take it. Luffy remembers his past with Shanks and yells at Buggy to return his treasure. Buggy then expresses how much he loathes Shanks, and that he will curse him for the rest of his life, Buggy claiming he can call Shanks whatever he wants. His flashback begins with a young Buggy and Shanks in an argument about which of the North Pole and South Pole is colder. After being separated by another crew member, their pirate ship attacks another vessel. Buggy cuts down one of the people aboard the vessel and finds a treasure map in his shirt, and he keeps the map a secret. Later, after a party, Shanks and Buggy sit together, and Shanks mentions how he will start his own pirate crew. He then tells Buggy about the devil fruit and its value, so Buggy plans to steal it. Buggy eats a fake devil fruit in front of everyone while keeping the real one hidden so he can sell it for belly.png 100 million. However, Shanks finds him and surprises Buggy, so Buggy jams the devil fruit in his mouth. After being surprised again, he accidentally swallows it. Buggy is livid about swallowing the fruit, and as he yells at Shanks, his map flutters into the water. Buggy dives in after it, but he can no longer swim, so Shanks saves him. Present time. Luffy says that Shanks saved Buggy's life, but Buggy refuses to accept it and says his plan was delayed for 10 years. His upper body then separates and rises up, and he spots Nami stealing his treasure. He goes after her, but Luffy kicks Buggy's lower body in the groin. Buggy collapses, and even more frustrated after he hears what Nami has said about keeping his treasure for herself, he uses Bara Bara Festival, Chop Chop Festival, his body parts flying around everywhere. Luffy grabs one of his feet and tickles it, pulling on it, really messing Buggy up. When Buggy attempts to rejoin with the rest of his body, his head, feet, and hands come together, but the rest of his body parts are tied up by Nami. Luffy then uses Gomu Gomu no Bazooka to send Buggy flying, and he is defeated. The townspeople, led by Poro, come and find much of the town in ruins, and Boodle unconscious, so they turn on Luffy, Nami, and Zoro. Luffy mentions that they are pirates, so the townspeople chase after them. However, when running down an alleyway, Chow Chow stops the townspeople by barking at them. Luffy, Nami, and Zoro come up to their boat and Nami's stolen ship, and the tightrope walking Funin Bros from before emerged from the ship. When seeing Zoro, however, they flee. Nami jumps into her stolen ship while Luffy and Zoro get into their boat, and they sail away as a new crew. As they are leaving, the mayor comes to, scolding the townspeople for chasing away Luffy and his friends, and he yells thanks to them.
Thanks! Thank you!
Nami then becomes angry with Luffy when she finds out he left behind half of her treasure to help pay for the town's repairs. Zoro laughs it off, while Nami tries to drown Luffy for being too kind. Nami forms an alliance with the crew as their navigator, though not as an actual member. Nami mentions how they'll need a ship if they want to make it to the Grand Line. The crew arrives at the Syrup village in search of a proper ship. They meet a boy named Usopp who is the town liar, and who is the son of one of Shanks' crewmates. A while ago, Usopp is running through Syrup village, yelling that pirates are coming. But after a minute Usopp says that what he said before was a lie, so the townspeople get mad at him.
You little liar! Enough! Game is over!
And runs after him. Usopp manages to run away and meets with Piemon and Ninjin. At that moment, Tomonegi comes running up to them, yelling that real pirates have arrived. Usopp wants to run away and have a snack, but after the urging of the Usopp pirates he goes out to face them. When Luffy, Zoro, and Nami hit land, Usopp comes out to greet them, introducing himself and saying he has 80 million men to squash them. Nami sees right through his lie, and Usopp freaks. He then puts a pinball in his slingshot and aims it at Luffy, saying his slingshot is better than a pistol. Luffy and Usopp stare at each other, and Luffy quotes Shanks, telling Usopp that they are real pirates and that he should bet his life on it. Usopp cracks, saying the speech was intimidating, and Luffy mentions getting it from Shanks. Usopp recognizes Shanks, and Luffy brings up Yasup, Usopp's father, about how great of a sniper he is. Usopp brings them to a restaurant, and Luffy continues to talk about Yasup, how he tells stories about Usopp and how well off he is. Nami then asks if there's any way to get a ship in the village, but Usopp says no. Zoro points out the large mansion on top of the hill, but Usopp quickly runs away. At the mansion, Kaya and Klahadore, her butler, talk about Usopp, and Klahadore forbids her from seeing him. Usopp comes anyway, and he tells Kaya a story about fighting a giant goldfish with droppings the size of islands. Back at the restaurant, the Usopp pirates come in to fight Luffy and company but are tricked into thinking Luffy ate Usopp. After that is cleared up, they bring Luffy, Zoro, and Nami to Kaya's mansion, and tell them how Usopp tells Kaya lies to cheer her up since her parents died and she became ill. Luffy decides they should ask her for a ship, and as there are bodyguards guarding the gate, he uses Gomu Gomu no Sari to intrude to launch himself and others over the fence. They crash into the ground near Usopp, and as they get up, Klahadore comes out and calls them intruders. Klahadore is asking Luffy and the rest of the trespassers to leave. Kaya tells Klahadore that it is okay that they are there. He responds with, "I will listen to your explanation later." Usopp tries to hide from Klahadore by hiding behind a tree. He gets caught anyways, and Klahadore goes on about how Usopp's father, Usopp, is a filthy and low-class pirate, making Usopp livid. He is doing this to provoke Usopp, which works when he angrily punches Klahadore in the face, knocking him down. Klahadore gets up and continues taunting Usopp, telling him that he is barbaric and violent. He provokes him even more by saying, "No wonder they say, like father, like son." Usopp responds by giving a speech about how he is proud that his father is a pirate and he will defend him. After say this, Klahadore says the Usopp is just befriending Kaya to get her wealth. So Usopp, furious, leaves. Luffy gets mad as well, but Zoro and Nami hold him back. They all leave too. Later, Kaya is crying in her room, and Klahadore comes in to bring her a meal. Since Kaya is still mad and sad about what happened, she tells Klahadore that she does not feel like eating. Klahadore responds by saying, "You will break the chef's heart by saying that." Then Kaya asks why Klahadore was so harsh, but he replies by reminding Kaya of the day 3 years ago when he came to the mansion when he was battered and dying. Her father let him in and cared for him. Not only that, but her father also gave him a job as her butler. He says that if anything happened to Kaya, he would not forgive himself, and is only doing what he does with Kaya's best interests in mind. He also says that it is the only way to repay her father for the thoughtful act of saving his life. He asks Kaya, "What happened earlier? Are you still angry at me?" Kaya, however, is still unsure but still says, "No. It's nothing like that." On another part of the island, the mystery man, Django, is still moonwalking. Elsewhere in the village, Nami and Zoro are sitting on the fence, wondering where Luffy went. Tamanegi come running up to them, telling them about the strange backwards walking man. Django then moonwalks up to them, saying that he, in fact, is not weird. Nami says that she thinks that he is a weirdo. He tells her that was the most ridiculous thing he has heard, and that he is just a hypnotist passing by. The Usopp pirates want to see a demonstration. He then hypnotizes the Usopp pirates with his ring but also winds up falling asleep himself. By a cliff overlooking the ocean, Luffy and Usopp sit, talking about how Usopp was a great pirate. Below them, they see Klahadore and Django arrive, discussing plans. They hear that the two are planning to assassinate Kaya so that Klahadore can take her inheritance. Klahadore is revealed to be Captain Kuro, a dangerous and cunning pirate thought to be executed 3 years ago. Django then says that his pirates are mobilizing and are ready to mount an attack on the village and kill Kaya, but to make it look like an accident. Luffy stands up and yells at them not to kill Kaya, and Usopp freaks because their cover is blown. Django uses his hypnotism to put Luffy to sleep, and falls asleep himself, but Usopp manages to crouch and avoids being hypnotized. Luffy falls asleep and falls forward off the cliff, landing on his head, so they all think he's dead. Kuro then tells Usopp that anything he says will not be believed because the whole village thinks Usopp is a liar. Usopp takes off running to tell Kaya, though is worried that Kaya will be mad at him. Kuro then looks out on the water and sees his former pirate ship, ready for the assassination, as the episode ends. Thank you for watching. Till next time.
One Piece Recap.